Welcome to Your Best Bets. Golf is back. We're in 2022 and we're doing our first golf show in about 2 months. The last time we did a true golf show was the RSM Classic. Of course, Mark Beneke joined me to discuss the father-son PNC Championship, which was awesome. Top 10 event of the season. We might talk maybe briefly about that since we didn't officially review it on this show. But really excited to get back to golf. I can't wait. I've been really excited for this particular podcast the last week. The Hawaii events are some of my favorite events, and the events in January leading up to Torrey Pines are kind of a fun 4 or 5 weeks to start off the year. Back for the first time in a while, Zach Fitzgerald is here. Zach, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? We had a good New Year's, a good Christmas, hung out with family. Didn't play a whole lot of golf. I played a little bit of indoor. We did not make the championship playoff round in indoor, but we still had fun. And aside from that, tried to stay warm.
Yeah, and I'm mistaken. You actually have been on more recent since the RSM. You were, of course, on for one of the NFL shows that we did in December, and that was fun. Of course, I think our picks that week I think they were pretty good from what I remember. Johnny Strouser is back. Johnny, what's up? How are you?
Good. Happy New Year to everybody. I was also on an NFL one, and my picks were great that week. Just an FYI. But ready for the golf season to start here, and us to all channel our inner Mark Rolfing and talk about some Hawaii golf.
Before we get too far into the golf, I do want to say that we had a pick. There was a Cincinnati game, and I believe I picked Cincinnati, and I did come through on that game. So I think that was the only game that we were different on. So I think maybe I got you by a game.
I think you're right. I know I've had at least a 3-2 record on the 5 picks for a few weeks though. That's my claim to fame. Johnny had a good week in his picks, and you did too, as well, Zach. It is Mark Rolfing season. Of course, the man loves Hawaii more than all three of us love anything combined. So we'll get a lot of Mark Rolfing the next couple weeks. Guys, before we talk about the Tournament of Champions, I kind of want to talk about 2022 as a whole. Of course, the season's already started. We know it started out at Napa with the Fortnite Max Homa winning, and we've had a few events since then. But this tournament always feels like the start of the season to me. And I wanted to get into a few things before we talk about the Tournament of Champions specifically. First of all, what's your outlook as far as the top of the board, as far as the top 3 or 4 or 5 guys in the world? John Rahm, Colin Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Rory Mcilroy, those guys. Let's start specifically with John Rahm. Johnny, he's had a couple months off. He's one of the few guys that didn't play really at all in the fall. I think the last time we saw him was it the Spanish Open, where he was like a -200 favorite to win, and then he was like finishing nearly last, and he said he needed a break. What's your expectation, him coming back this week and going forward? Are we going to see him keep parlaying what he had in the middle of the season last year going forward?
I think we will, but a lot of it's going to depend on how well he putts the ball. He's one of the best ball strikers in the world. His all around game's so good. He did get burned out after that Spanish Open and just basically shut it down for the rest of the year. I mean, I think he withdrew from the European Tour, race to Dubai, playoffs, and the championship, and just because I think he was just from playing too much or from playing good golf for a long stretch of time, he just had to shut it down. But he's at the age where he's entering his peak, where he's going to have several more, good health, good, physical ability and everything like that. His season or his career is kind of just taking off here and hasn't peaked. So I do expect that. But one thing I will look at, and I will look at early in his tournaments in the West Coast swing here, is how well he putts. What happened last year at the beginning of the year when he went through the equipment change from TaylorMade to Callaway? He had the I think it was a 2-ball putter, putted just very, very poorly with it. Couldn't make anything outside of 10 to 20 feet with any consistency. Was oftentimes an O for every single round. Switched to a different Odyssey putter and putted his brains out. I mean, he just made everything. As we all remember, the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, him making those big bombs on 17 and 18 on Sunday when he was going to win Memorial earlier that season. And just, dominated that golf course. He was putting very, very well. And he continued that up through the Ryder Cup. So most of the time, these guys are going to hit the ball pretty similarly from guy to guy. I mean, there's not much variance, but his putting really ascended him to number one. And I think if he can continue that, I don't see him slowing down, and I could see him winning more times this year than he did last.
I was going to say the most shocking stat of last season was that Jon Rahm won exactly one tournament on the PGA Tour because it felt like he won 3 or 4 times. Obviously, we know what happened in Memorial, but it felt like his season was so much better than it showed to be on paper. As far as strokes gained, he had one of the best seasons in recent history. He's the last 3 or 4 years total. He is by far the leaders in strokes gained. Zach, what's your thought on Rahm? And I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on Morikawa. I know you're extremely high on him. He's got that 10 major prediction hanging over his head from you. Who is it a toss-up this year between Rahm and Morikawa? Who's going to be the best player?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that there's probably a 5 or 6 person group that it really could be. But when it comes to Rahm, I mean, I totally expect him to have greatness. I think it's going to be hard to follow up the dominance that he had at the last half of the year last year, but I think he'll do great things. He's favored in every major this year, if you look at it right now.
Yeah, he is around like plus 900, plus 1,000 on most of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I have it down as, and I think Morikawa, is right around the 1,200 to 1,500 range, and yeah, I think Morikawa could win a major this year. I absolutely think Rahm could win a major this year. I would put my money on Morikawa for a major over Rahm. But yeah,
Gotta get to 10.
I heard that in the podcast with Mark, and I understand that he laughed a little and it seems outlandish, but I don't really think it is. I mean, he just strikes the ball so well. It just doesn't. I guess you could say that about a lot of people. We thought Rory would have 14 or 15, so you never know.
That was my point. We did the same thing with Rory. We did the same thing with Spieth. We sort of did the same thing with Brooks, maybe not as much. So these things tend to level out, but Morikawa's on an unbelievable path, and he might have the biggest weapon in the sport right now, which is his iron game, which is probably the most coveted thing going right now.
Yeah, I just don't think any of them hit irons as well as at any point in their career that you named, aside from Tiger, than what he does. So to have that, if he can find a way to make putts, he doesn't even have to make putts all the time. He just needs to make enough putts. So yeah. I just think that gives him a weapon that most people don't have. His distance isn't a detriment. I mean, he doesn't hit it as far as, the huge guys on tour, but it's not like he's a short hitter. So obviously I like his game. We know that I like his game. He and a few other guys that we're going to discuss tonight are my guys that I seem to take when other people don't.
I know Johnny and I talked about it most of last season was when Morikawa putts well, he's probably going to contend for sure, and he's going to win a few of those. What's interesting is statistically he's a negative strokes gain putter, or very close to zero maybe now, but he has these spike weeks where he's one of the 3 best putters that week, like we saw at the Open, and I almost think that's better that where you have these 5, 6, 7 weeks a year where you're lethal with the putter, because those are the weeks you're probably going to be in the top 2 or 3, especially with his iron game. So it's almost, you look at the numbers with him, but you have to kind of realize that that's just an average. But man, those spike weeks, he's unbelievable and almost impossible to beat. Johnny, I want your take on, is there a guy out there this year that's going to challenge Rahm and Morikawa maybe in the world rankings or for the most wins that you like?
I keep wanting to circle back to Justin Thomas. I think he's overall, I mean, it's kind of it's a hard to say, but he might be the most talented of the group. Gets the most out of his size, out of his body, out of his golf swing, and he's got the talent in his short game, and everything like that. I'm hoping the switch to a new caddy, to Jim Bones Mackay, can maybe take him over the edge. Jim Johnson, his previous caddy, was a very, very good one, but I think Bones has got to be a top 2, 3, 4 all time guy here, and an unbelievable green reader, especially on Bermuda greens. So I think when you look at a guy like Thomas, who can have a great ball striking week from week to week, and seems to just struggle with that putter, where he's streaky and whatnot. Maybe Mackay takes him over the edge where he can win a little bit more consistently. I actually did hear him on an interview today, where he was saying where he was going to be a little bit more selective for his schedule. So he's going to look at more events that suit his game, that suit his eye. Golf courses that suit his eye, I should say, not to play in an event just to play in an event. So, generally, if a golf course doesn't suit a golfer's eye, for these PGA Tour guys, there's a pretty good chance that even though they could be the best player in the field, they're not going to win that, just because there's going to be shots out there that they need to hit. They just can't see it. So I'm hoping that we're going to see Justin Thomas in his prime, and where he's going to start to take off, where he's added maybe the final piece to the puzzle, in an elite caddy, where he may be able to help him out and take his, when he's not playing well and he shoots 70 or 71 and can take that to a 68, help his bad rounds. He's so hard to doubt. He's so hard to, to just write him off because of how good he is. And I'm fully expecting him to, win multiple events and to contend in majors and really push Morikawa and Jon Rahm this year, 2022.
I think for all accounts, especially even from him, 2021 was not a banner year for JT. Of course, he had the one win at the Players, but it was really uneven. He got his ball striking going in the fall, but for most of the year, the putter was a massive hindrance to him contending. I felt like every time I watched him, he was missing the left or right putts low every time. Felt like watching myself out there in 2021. I'm really interested to see if Bones can help as far as a green reading, like you mentioned. We've seen JT get on these heaters where he is a birdie machine in the past, but we just didn't really see it last year. And I think he's really focused on becoming the best player in the world again. I don't know if he'll get there, but I think he's got to be probably the most logical choice of who can really push these top two. Zach, you got anyone else? Hovland, Rory, Matt Kuchar, anyone?
We'll talk about Kuchar later. But
I'm sure we will.
Not yet. I think DJ can. But before we get to DJ, I would just like to say that I think one of the biggest advantages that JT has over everybody else is his close relationship with Tiger, and that knowledge and camaraderie and just the calm feeling and just, like I said, overall knowledge, I think cannot be understated. And yeah, I think that's huge. So, but I think DJ, honestly, I would not be the slightest bit surprised if DJ wins more tournaments than anybody this year. I think he's going for, what did I read? If he wins this year, it's his 15th straight season that he gets a win. And only Jack and I might be wrong on the number, but only Jack and Arnie have done it. And I think their number was 17. So
he did get the benefit of the large season last year with since he won the fall 2020 Masters that counted, but he didn't technically win. That's such a weird stat, but he does win a ton. Yes.
And I think he has the power and he has the attitude, the kind of not care attitude to really kind of be able to brush off the bad rounds. And we're just talking like the person that I think is going to potentially just blow up, that you can't say he's a breakout player, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zander wins a few tournaments in a major or two, honestly. He has to at some point. He's too good. He's always there. You put yourself in that position enough times, you have to win at some point, right? Correct? I mean, it has to be.
This is hilarious. Johnny and I were texting about Zander today, this week specifically, but Johnny made the statement that Zander's going to have a 3 or 4 win season at some point in the near future. So that sort of echoes your sentiment. I last year I consistently hammered where he was on the odds board every week because the win equity didn't match the odds. But maybe you guys, this is a 2-on-1 fast break. You guys can team up and have the Zander love that I don't have.
Well, I mean, his odds were always kind of unbettable because he wasn't going to win. He was kind of like the Tony Finau thing where it's like you wanted to bet him because the talent matched the odds, but just the win equity didn't. And I think Schauffele at some point, whether it's going to be 2022, 2023, 2024, these prime years here, he's going to have a season where he finally wins 3 or 4 times. And, it's just getting over that hump and getting that win and reminding himself that he can do it, come crunch time. I thought that winning gold last year would propel him, I should say, into a better late summer and fall. He still played good golf, but he played the same Zander Schauffele good golf where it's not good enough to win, but it's good enough to finish second, third, or fourth. So I'm almost done with him. I'm ready to give up and say, this is what it's going to be, where he's going to win 6, 7, 8 times in his career is all. And he's going to have a bunch of top 5s and top 10s and top 20s in majors, but I'm still hanging on to it. He still shows me those glimpses, but we can't see Waste Management Open Zander Schauffele. We need to see more of Olympic gold Zander Schauffele, where he seems to be a different kind of dude.
I think he puts himself in position in majors all the time, and you do that, I think eventually you get one.
Yeah. Last win 3 years ago this week. Exactly.
Sentry, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I got a couple categories for you guys to answer, and then we'll move on to tournament champions. Give me the breakout player of this season in 2022. Breakout being this guy wins. Breakout meaning he moves from the 50 to the top 20. Could be kind of any way you see that. Johnny?
I have a feeling I might take your guy here. I'm going Matt McNeely. I think he wins. I'm not saying he's going to make Tour Championship. I mean, I think he'll finish top 50 FedEx Cup rankings. He's too good not to, and he's finally starting to come closer and closer and closer to a win. Coulda, woulda, shoulda won. Was that Fortnite, or was that was that the one that you had him and couldn't close the door? But I mean, he's contended after all the major championships were over, and into this 2020 2022 wraparound season. He had some good finishes, played some good golf, some really good golf. He's very, very talented. I mean, he was once the best amateur golfer in the world. I think I've talked a couple times about players entering their prime years. I think he's kind of in that area there where he's going to turn his game around here and where he can close it out in a 4-round event. And I think he can win on the PGA Tour. Like I said, he's too talented not to. And my prediction is that he will win an event this year and get started on hopefully a successful career.
Is he still dating Danielle King? Are they not together anymore? Any idea?
As of last summer, I saw that. I don't keep up on their on my Mav McNeely's personal life, so I don't know. But at last I had heard, Danielle King and him were still an item.
I think it would be good for him if he was not part of that relationship, because she's the alpha in that relationship. I'm just saying, clearly.
That's a good observation.
Zach, breakout player of 2022.
I think we've been talking about my guy a lot and potentially could steal your guy as well, but I would have to say Scheffler just to get a win. I think Scheffler gets a win this year, but for breakout player, I put Zander again. I really do. I think Xander's going to win a major. I do.
Jesus. Double dipping on Zander.
I think Xander's going to win a major. I don't know. I was like doing all this research the last couple of days and looking at all this stuff. And it's like, man, he's always there. He's just always there in majors, just always there.
Scotty Scheffler, though, I kind of like that.
I mean, to win, I don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of obvious. That's kind of obvious, though.
Well, is it though? I mean, you could say like Tony Finau, and you know, every single year for a bunch of years, and he didn't win. Yeah. So it's is Scheffler going to get that first win though?
See, I was actually, it was so obvious. I was going to label the category breakout player not named Scotty Scheffler or Will Zalatoris.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say, yeah.
So you pick Zander. Xander's his.
So you pick Zander.
What? But that's more for like a breakout on maybe more of like an atomic level than say just like a little, getting his feet wet level. I just think, I really do. I think Xander's going to have a good year. You're going to hear Xander's name from me a lot this year.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Unless he breaks a couple arms or something. I mean, anything could happen.
My breakout player, I have two here, which is totally typical me because I couldn't narrow it down. And one is maybe a guy that it's not really a breakout because he's sort of already had this, but he had a big down year in 2020 or the end of 2020, early 2021. But I feel like he's resurfacing. Matt Wolfe. I think he is going to win again. I think he was very close in the fall a couple different times. His mindset seems a lot better than it was early in 21, middle of 21, and taking that break was the best thing that ever happened to him, best idea he's ever had. So I think Matt Wolfe, he's already backed in the top 30 in the world. I think he's going to be pushing the top 10 by the end of the year. I just have a feeling Wolfe's going to win once or twice. And then my other guy is of course one of my favorites, Corey Connors. I think this guy is really, really close to winning a tournament or two once again. Top 40 in the world, one of the best ball strikers on tour, probably top 10, top 15. If you can get that putter ironed out, saw the numbers start to get a little bit better at the end of the season. I think that's someone that could really contend in a major. He's just so consistent, and he hits a ton of fairways, ton of greens, and that putter just gotta have one good week, man. 2 good weeks, Corey. So those are a couple guys I have for breakout player. Let's talk about the majors. So we've already talked about Zander quite a bit here. So the Masters coming up. Anybody specifically you like for the Masters, Johnny, outside of Zander? You seem to like him to contend in majors, but anybody specifically for the Masters in April?
Yep, I first of all, I'm not gonna pre-tournament bet, at least in futures, Zander in any of them. Not that I don't think he can win, but for Augusta, I've got two guys I've looked at that I'm gonna. They actually, I think I've already bet. So it might be a good idea to check these guys out because you could play. I think most books have Masters futures right now. First guy is Brooks Koepka. I think he could. I think he's going to win a major this year, and I think he's going to win at Augusta.
Oh, wow.
That knee is back to pretty much healthy. He's back to piss and vinegar. He putted really confidently. I know it was just an exhibition match against Bryson in Las Vegas there. It was just a stupid little event, but the way he kind of looked over the ball there, those little things like that show me that he's pretty comfortable with how he feels over the putter there. He's played in more events here, and he's really tried to dial it in and be more consistent from week to week. I think that knee is getting better and better. And will it ever be back to 100%? I highly, highly doubt it. But will it be back to 90%? I'd take Brooks Koepka at a 90% knee there, and I think you can get him still at a pretty good number. I think at one point he was more than 25 to 1. He's probably a little bit under that, but if he has a decent fall or a decent winter, which he normally doesn't play much, you might want to nab him now. And the other guy, I can't believe I've kind of convinced myself to bet on him, is Rory to complete the career Grand Slam. Like what I saw out of him winning at Wells Fargo, and then winning the was that CJ Cup in Vegas.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna get it right. And now that he's got the stuff out of his head that he doesn't have to hit it as far as Bryson to win events. He can hit it as far as Rory and win events. That he's gonna kind of come in as unheralded as Rory can be, and I expect some big things here, and I think he could very well win the Masters this year.
Okay. Zach, Zander?
I do think Zander, and
Well,
I think just like he said, I think Zander could win every major. But I also think I can't wait for the Masters. I like Wolfe. I like Wolfe's number, which is plus 8,000. I mean, if you can get pretty good odds on that. And if I remember correctly, he played pretty well the last time that he played the Masters. And Johnny Koepka's at plus 1,800 right now.
18 to 1. I go get him.
And also, I really would think very hard about Rory. I don't know. Kind of like you have this weird feeling this year that Rory's had like 3 or 4 down years, and he could just pop out of nowhere and go crazy and show everybody why he's Rory.
Yeah.
But for the Masters, I like that. And then Oosthuizen for top 10. They don't have the numbers out yet, but I'll just pencil him in for top 10 now and bet whenever I can. They do have Tiger at plus 3,500, which
it's insane.
I don't know that anybody would take that bet. I don't know why anybody would take that bet. Yeah, I don't think he's play.
You could bet on a guy like Sam Burns, who's I think he's at 4,000, if I'm not mistaken, who is legitimately one of the 7 or 8 best players in the world right this second. That's a crazy number. I forgot. I have some pictures in on the Masters already. I put in a massive free bet last year after the Ryder Cup on Jon Rahm to win the Masters. That's my pick to win the Masters. It's obviously very chalky, but you've seen this before at the Masters. Like Dustin's the best example where he knocked on the door for 3, 4, or 5 years, and his finishes got better and better. Learned how to play the golf course. Learned how to manage his game around there, manage his game around the greens, get up and down, all that. Just the learning of the golf course is one of those things at Augusta that's pretty critical. And I think Rahm, if you've looked at his finishes the last few years, I feel like he is knocking on the door there, and his game's obviously in peak form. Hopefully by April, he's won maybe a tournament, and he's ready to keep ascending into potentially this great career. So I think he gets a second major there. I actually do, Zach and Johnny. I have a future Masters bet on Zander Schauffele. I forgot I had that. So who knows? Maybe I will be rooting for him come Sunday at the Masters.
And you know what? I think we've kind of you enlightened me to the strategy. Actually, it was a couple months ago, and this is, I think, a pretty good one here. I don't you think that? Don't you both think that really the winner of the Masters is going to come from a bucket of maybe, we'll say 12 to 15 guys? I mean, I know somebody outside that 12 to 15 guy bucket can win the Masters, but just Augusta seems to be pretty predictable in the type of player that it brings out. I started whenever I would get free bets for these sports books, I started doing like you. Instead of betting them on something current, I just went to a Masters future. I put a big bet on Jon Rahm. I think I put another bet on Jon Rahm when he was so good. I have one on Hovland. I have one on Cantley. I have one on Schauffele and Rory and Morikawa. So giving myself some opportunities there, but every time I would earn one, it was like, you know what? I have a good feeling that we're going to get one of maybe a dozen or so guys that are going to win. Now, if it blows up on me, it blows up on me. But it's good to sometimes get these odds when you get them, because if they get to the Florida swing playing pretty well, their odds are going to decrease quite a bit there. Like Zach said, he's Brooks is at 18-1. He was at 25-1 just a couple months ago. So, he can those guys drop when they have good finishes there. And I think that's something to definitely look at.
Yeah, it's I put down 6 Masters futures last year, and when we get to that point in April, it's going to be nice to have those to fall back on, because I think it's a great point. It really is a small amount of guys that could really win that tournament this year. I think if you compare it to like an Open Championship at St. Andrews, where it feels like it's a lot of weird things that can happen at Open, and we've seen a lot of random winners, and maybe that bucket's 40 guys or 50 guys on any given week. But the Masters just feels different, where it's just it's a handful of guys. We're kind of running along on a couple of these. Any other major picks that you have pegged the rest of the way, the last 3, Zach?
I mean, anything of note. I have Morikawa to defend at St. Andrews, which I know is, he's not the longest hitter. I also think, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Bryson wins there. He could just overpower that golf course if he wanted to. He just has to hit the ball straight. I mean, if he hits the ball straight and long at St. Andrews, it's going to be hard to beat him. Aside from that, no. I mean, no real, nothing special. That I like Zander. I like Cantlay a lot this year. But those are the 2 guys that you kind of hear me spout about a lot. Just Cantlay as being a guy that's steady. Kind of, I think that his game suits, especially the U.S. Open, just with his mentality.
Yeah.
So, but no, nobody really. I mean, there's nothing that I saw. I wouldn't be surprised if Fleetwood at some point this year wins a major either. I mean, not that I'm saying that I would bet on, but if he does, it wouldn't just shock me. He always shoots a low round at some point.
Johnny, anyone that you have pegged for any of the last 3 majors?
Just one. I'm not going to do anything with the PGA Championship, which is at Southern Hills. That's going to be your big, long, traditional golf course. So your guys who are typically up there are all good bets. St. Andrews is going to be St. Andrews. It's short. It could be windy. It could be not windy. You got it. You can hit it anywhere, but you can't hit it anywhere. One guy I'm going to talk about here before we move on is U.S. Open. It's at the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts. Last time that I think that we saw it was the Ryder Cup back in, what was that, 99? I don't think it's had a major since then. It's a fairly tight course with crazy undulating greens. Jordan Spieth, I like him there. Very, very, very good lag putter. Unbelievably good green reader. It's not long and over where it's got to be overpowered. He doesn't have to always hit driver, but keep him in mind for the U.S. Open this year.
I like that. Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I got two names for the rest of the way. I think Sam Burns could win the PGA at Southern Hills. I like that setup for him. And I also either the PGA or the Open. I like Dustin. I think he could get the third leg of the Grand Slam this year. I remember in 2015 at St. Andrews, through 2 rounds, he looked unbeatable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I remember thinking like, oh my God, he has taken this course down, and then he completely fell off the map over the weekend. But I think we saw glimpses, and that's why I don't mind the Bryson pick for the Open. Actually, Zach, is we know that golf course, if it's benign, it could probably be dominated by power. So I think, and maybe it's I don't know if Dustin has a revenge factor in his body, but I really feel like he's only motivated at this point by majors because he's done everything else. So I think DJ could get one this year, and I do like Burns to at least contend and maybe surprise, because I feel like his game is way underrated, and I feel like he is legitimately one of the best players in the world right now. Either way, the major season is going to be really exciting. Can't wait to get there to April with the Masters. Next category, guys, is oh my God, what did I have? Okay, buy or sell. This is I had this idea, actually listened to another podcast, so I kind of stole it, but it felt like just a good idea to bring it out tonight. So buy or sell. Each of these players, tell me why you're buying or selling. You guys know none of the names I'm going to give you, so here we go. Johnny, Joaquin Niemann, buy or sell?
I'm going to buy him. I think he's going to win an event this year. He played okay last year. He's going to play better this year. Putter's going to get working. I'm buying.
Zach?
Buy. He great player. I was looking at him earlier. I believe he's only 23 still, which is extremely young. Definite buy.
Sell from me. He's just another talented young player. Yes, it feels like he's been out here forever, but I like other guys' games better at this point, and I'll sell. Still a good top 50 player though. Buy or sell, Zach? Russell Henley.
Sell.
No reason even needed. Johnny?
Sell. 2021 Wyndham Championship final round, 72nd hole, needs to make a short putt and he misses. That's I think that's going to be his career. Just he'll hang on the tour for the next 15 years, but he just won't be able to make enough putts.
I was looking back at my 2021. I had a lot of really close heartbreaks. Russell Henley at the Wyndham was one of them. But for that reason, and for a lot of reasons that I think he's just been an underrated ball striker for 2 seasons now. I will buy. I think he's going to win in 22. Maybe a second tier, third tier event. Buying Russell Henley. Actually, Zach talked about him earlier, so I know where he's going with it. Tommy Fleetwood, buy or sell, Johnny?
I want to buy so bad, but
yep.
I'm not going to. I don't trust that putter. And then I don't know if his ball striking is the same as it was a couple of years ago when he shot 62 or 63 at Shinnecock, or 65 or whatever it was, that unbelievable round. But that the dudes who can't putt, I sell.
Zach?
I can't refute that it's an issue that he doesn't putt well, but as we've spoken before, I mean, everybody has a hot day. At some point, he's going to have a hot weekend. I don't know that I don't know what his level of buy sell are. I mean, are we just talking about him like top 10 player, or
whatever you want?
It's whatever you see it as.
I would buy him to have a solid season. I don't know. I would sell him to.
Does he have PGA Tour status? I'm sorry, Zach. Does he have PGA Tour status? Sure. I think he lost it, didn't he?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Okay, because I think he's going to have to be playing off of that where he only gets. I mean, he still gets like 15 events plus the majors, but it's going to be tougher for him to do. I hope I'm wrong, though. I really do. He's one of the Euros that I really, really like. I like his game, his personality, I like that. But
anyways, I buy that he makes it into the playoff. I'll just
okay.
I sell on Tommy Fleetwood. I've seen enough. His run is over. Buy or sell. Straight vibing. Daniel Berger. Zach.
I seem to always sell on him. I feel like I should be buying though. I think he's really underrated. I buy. I mean, I just think he comes out of nowhere. I would buy on him.
Okay. I'm gonna buy Daniel Berger as well. Hugely underrated last 18 months of his career. He's never going to win 3 or 4 times a season, but he's just going to be so solid, and he's going to be a top 20 player for the foreseeable next 3, 4, 5 years. Johnny?
Buy it all up. I like him a lot. I mean, that's just saying. I agree with everything you said. He's just going to be real consistent. I like that arrogant attitude. I like that he can back it up as well. So bye.
Johnny, Jason Kokrak, are we all in?
Love that. I just think of that picture every single time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to buy Jason Kokrak. He shows me that this last season with Colonial and what was the last event there that he won?
Houston Open.
In the Houston Open. That putter, I can trust him, and he can hit a fairway and he can hit a green. And he's not going to do that every week, but he's going to win next year, some event, and I'm going to buy that.
Jason Kokrak gave you one of your 2 or 3 biggest golf wins ever.
The second biggest payout I've had in golf. So Jason Kokrak, I'll be at the poker table with him.
Zach.
I did, in fact, buy Jason Kokrak today while I was doing something. I placed a wager on him for the PGA Championship. He's plus 10,000, and I like.
Pretty good.
I just think that the odds, and I mean, so yeah, I absolutely buy him. Power. He's winning. He's kind of just been simmering there for the last few seasons. He's not just a guy that's just come and going. Yeah, I like him. He could win a major this year too. I mean, he has all the tools that you need.
Yeah, sweep this one. I'm buying Kokrak too. He's a proven winner at this point. Next step in his career is proving he can contend at a major. Love to see that, and I do love that future bet you just threw out there. Rory McIlroy, Zach, buy or sell?
Buy heavily. I think he could be in for a huge year. If he comes in motivated, he has all the talent in the world. He needs to figure out putting, but that's a lot of guys. But he's proven that, when he's on his game, he's probably more talented than anybody. So I buy him this year. I don't know. And I don't have any evidence to back that. It's just a feeling.
I'm with you. I'm buying Rory. I know we've said it the last 5 seasons, but this feels like a monster year coming for him. He's been working on just having the right mentality. Do I care too much? Do I care not enough? I feel like maybe he's found the right balance on where he needs to be with his game. He's not chasing distance anymore. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he won 4 or 5 times this year. Johnny?
I'm going to buy, but because I've got that Masters future on him, and I said on earlier in the show that he was going to win, but I'm going to sell quick if I don't see much, buy that event there. If it's going to be the same old Rory of the last 5 or 6 years, then I'm gonna get off of it. But you're right, everything's trending toward him having a monster season, but. Is he going to see what happened in the race to Dubai when, he looked like he was going to win and then, flags it and then goes in the bunker, makes double and loses the tournament there. So I hope that he has this big season because I'm expecting it, and I'm going to bet him a lot early because I think he's going to win. But if I don't see it early, I'm gonna bail.
Okay, two more. Johnny, back to you again. Pat Reed, sit by yourself.
I'm gonna sell. He's gonna have good golf from time to time, and he might win an event this year, but the same ball flight that he hits, he's gonna have to really be on putting, and he's gonna have to have a golf course that fits him. With that being said, though, he always is posted at such an intriguing number because the books know that that the public doesn't bet him. So I'm not expecting big things from Pat Reed this year, but man, I'm going to probably throw money on him week to week and have him prove to me that he can't do it just because his value is going to be that good on a weekly basis.
Zach?
I buy Patrick Reed, obviously. I think he has something to prove this year. Did not get picked for the Ryder Cup, understandably, but I think that's going to eat away at him, and I like a motivated Patrick Reed. I think he could contend the Masters. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he shapes shots. He should be motivated. I imagine he's been working throughout the year. Doesn't get along with his family, so I don't imagine he's having a lot of family. So, probably out hitting golf balls while everybody else was, giving and opening presents.
That's right. I'm gonna buy at least one Patrick Reed rules fiasco in 2022. I'm gonna sell Patrick Reed for the season. His ball striking is off the map at times, and although I love watching him around the greens, I think he's too inconsistent tee to green to win tournaments right now. Last name, Zach, Tiger Woods. Save that for last, clearly.
I'm always going to buy Tiger, but I don't know that I buy that he plays in any meaningful tournament and does anything this year. I think that everybody got really, really excited to watch him play in that tournament, but he's riding in a cart. It's going to be one thing to hit golf shots getting out of a cart for 2 days where you don't have a whole lot of pressure. But if people are actually thinking he's going to come back and play Augusta, I don't think that the golfing against the competitors is the hard part. I think that it's the walking 4 days at Augusta. And he's already said that even given a cart exemption, he will not accept it, which I respect that. I buy Tiger for Tiger. I buy Tiger for what I saw a couple weeks ago. I think that was awesome. But I sell him playing golf this year meaningfully. Hopefully next year or the year after, he can come back and give it a serious run again. He obviously still has a swing.
Yeah, Zach, you took the words out of my mouth. Pretty much everything you said. I couldn't have said it better, so I'll just pass it on to Johnny.
Yeah, I can't disagree or add really much to anything what he said. At this point, we're lucky that we got to see him in a couple weeks ago play with Charlie there. If we see him by the Open Championship, I think that will be a wonderful miracle. If we get to see him play once or twice, and I think at this point, you just don't bet him. You just appreciate that we've probably seen what could be one of the greatest athletes that is going to come along during our lifetime. So we might as well just enjoy the ride and what little that we get left and everything, whether it's, in the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however long he plays. But I think the days of him being a top level PGA Tour golfer are gone, unfortunately.
Last question before we get to the TOC here. Big New Year's resolution guy, New Year's hit, what am I going to do this year differently to improve my life, make my life better? More importantly, what am I going to do differently this year to make my betting life different and better? Where am I not going to waste money? Zach, do you got anything?
Probably not going to bet Matt Kuchar as much this year. That or
is that a significant problem for you?
Well, I don't I think it's kind of going to be logical this year not to bet him as much. He's obviously not going to have the odds that he had when he came back last year. You know, he had what? I think it was 15,000. How do you not just put a little bit of money on Matt Kuchar for 15,000? I don't know. I'll probably bet pretty much the exact same way that I have. And I mean, most of my bets are really, you know, making educated guesses on parlays. So, I mean, you don't hit a whole bunch of them, but when you do, you know, you just hope to, you know, make double what you've put into previous parlays to continue making money, and then, you know, make some. It's hard in golf to hit winners consecutively. I mean, we had a good run where we hit, I think, like 2 or 3 in a row, and then I don't know what, had like 7 or 8 last year, which is a really good year of picking winners. So I'll just probably still bet top 10s, top 5s, top 20s pretty aggressively, and then, you know, make a smaller bet on a parlay and try to hit a couple of those and make money that way.
Let's be clear, the fall was amazing for us as far as picking. I mean, the last 8-9 tournaments of the season was pretty incredible for this podcast. Johnny, what do you got for betting golf this year in 2022?
Well, there's going to be a few changes, but let me ask you. So the fall, which we did do very, very, very well on, you know, with our picks. How many times did you have picks this fall that the guy finished, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th? I mean, I know you had McNeely. Didn't you have a couple other guys, or maybe 1 or 2 others, something like that?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Was it multiple? Okay.
I had Mav.
So,
I had, yeah. Even the last tournament, Mac Hughes. Yeah.
Mac Hughes. Okay, so I mean, you had multiple guys there. I think one of the strategies that I've really kind of done but haven't totally done here is, let's say you're going to do 1 unit bet on a guy to win an event. But what I think I've learned here is I'm going to bet maybe it's 1/3 of a unit or maybe a half a unit on the win, but also the remaining part of that unit on either a top 5 or a top 10, which still is going to pay unbelievably well. But that kind of ensures you that if your guy doesn't end up winning, which we know how hard that is for guys to win on the PGA Tour there. So, you know, if we get in a streak there where you're picking a bunch of guys and they're finishing top 5, I think that definitely recuperates, you know, some of the money and still ends up making it a profitable way. And that's what Zach was saying there as far as picking more place bets. But I think that's one thing I'm going to focus on. So anytime I pick a guy, or anytime you suggest to pick a guy going forward in our official picks, I would highly recommend you place a small percentage of the unit on the actual win, but also a significant or equal, you know, bet size on a top 5, just to prevent, you know, if the guy ends up not winning, loses a playoff, something like that, because we're going to give away good picks all year. I mean, that's what we've done. We've improved throughout the year. You know, we started strong. It slowed down a little bit through the summer, and then we had a real strong fall. And a lot of guys that we picked came close. If you do bet that top 5 or that top 10, you're going to end up making your meeting your budget for the week there. So I'm going to do that. And then I had some success betting the tournament matchups. I'm going to focus on those a lot more. They don't pay out as much, but you know, they're more surefire ways to hopefully win a little bit and add to the bankroll.
I like that. I like what you mentioned as far as ensuring your win bets with top 5s and top 10s. That goes along with what I was thinking, but it really adds to it, which is for myself. I've mentioned to Johnny, and I've probably mentioned to Zach, that I'm the Javi Baez of just sports betting in general. I usually go for homers or I strike out, and I'm okay with that. It's worked well for me the last 2+ years of doing this. But it is frustrating to have instances like Matt McNeely, to have instances like Mac Hughes. So I was gonna go more of the Johnny Strouser route of betting and have more top 5s and top 10s, maybe a couple less win bets in my weekly weekly allotment of bets, but I really, really like the idea of insuring those bets. And secondly, I'm going to listen to more to what you guys have to say as far as who you're betting and go along with those a little bit more. Not to say I ignored it, but there was one Johnny got in the fall that I didn't follow. I can't remember who it was. Hideki.
I think it was Matsuyama, wasn't it?
Was that Zozo?
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm gonna trust my compadres here on the podcast and follow those bets a little bit more this season as well. So New Year's resolutions for golf. Let's do it. So here we go. Here's my phone. Starting off with the Sentry Tournament of Champions, guys. A 39-man field. All the 2021 winners except our guy Rory Mcilroy, who is not playing this week. The rest of the winners from last year are here. Of course, the Plantation course at Kapalua is just freaking spectacular. It's just a great TV product, prime time. Like I said, I love this event in January. It just makes me long for the spring. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. This is a Core and Crenshaw design, 2019 renovation, coming in just under 7,600 yards. Of course, it doesn't play that long due to extreme elevation changes. Par 73, of course, there's I thought there was 5 par 5s, but there's only 4. There's just only 3 par 3s, right? And then Bermuda greens, which, from what I've understood, they're not fast Bermuda. They're kind of slow, kind of grainy. Interesting stat I saw today, guys, is this course last year had the 6th most missed putts inside of 5 feet. So kind of tough to read these short putts. The fairways are the widest on tour. The greens are some of the biggest on tour. I think angles where you're coming into the greens is probably really critical. So not necessarily, a lot of the guys are going to be hitting the fairways. I think I saw over 75% of fairways are hit in this tournament, which is way above the PGA Tour average. So I don't think distance is necessarily a huge deal here because some of these holes have speed slots. You see it like on 18, everyone sort of ends up mostly in the same spot unless you really get it down there. Remember a couple of years ago, DJ, I think on number 12, when it was downwind, he drove it to 2 inches away on a 430-yard par 4. But I think generally speaking, this is a iron. This isn't a second shot golf course. Best iron player is going to win this week, or at least be in the mix, because everyone's hitting these greens. They're so big. It's who's the proximity is going to be really critical. You guys see anything differently?
No, it's like you said, it's a big ballpark, but it was designed that both there's 2 different winds in Hawaii. Ones that go the trade winds, which go the traditional direction, and then the ones that the opposite. I think they're called the Kona winds per Mark Rolfing, and it can play short both ways. But yeah, it's wide fairways that hit greens. It's always going to be windy there. In Hawaii, it's always going to blow a little bit. The golf course is a lot wetter than it normally has because they've had a really, really wet fall and winter. It'll play a little bit longer. So if you're unsure and you've got a real short hitter, you may want to be a little hesitant on that. But these guys are going to be throwing darts all day long, and with the winds, and they said the winds aren't going to be too extreme. They're going to be kind of normal there. So shouldn't see anything out of the ordinary, or there shouldn't be anything to really where you've got to factor in too much of the weather there to pick your golfers.
So generally the winning scores at least 20 under par. We saw Harris English get to 25, I think, last year. So if the winds are, I think a couple of years ago, JT won at 14 under when the winds were up, and it played a lot more difficult. But generally speaking, you got to make a ton of birdies here. If you shoot a 1 or 2 under par round, you're probably going to get lapped, generally speaking. So I want guys that are birdie makers. I want the JTs, the Morikawas, and a guy like JT, two-time winner here, 4 times in the top 3 in his 6 starts. I like the course history. I don't really want a guy that's playing here for the first time. I think, you see a lot of uneven lies in this golf course too for your second shots because of the elevation changes. So I think experience with that is going to help. Zach, anything additionally to the golf course before we get to the odds board?
No, I mean, I think with this tournament, you see a lot of the same guys year after year after year. And so for me on this one, I kind of just go with pedigree for previous years. And there's a lot of good data to go off of. So we'll have a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Jon Rahm is the favorite at plus 600 on DraftKings, which is really weird because I think earlier today he was around plus 800. So Justin Thomas is at plus 850. Morikawa is at plus 1,000. And then we have a trio of guys, Hovland, DeChambeau, Zander at plus 1,200. That's the top 6 on the board. Patrick Cantlay at 14, Sam Burns at 18, and straight vibing Daniel Berger at 20-1. Who's going to be the pick at the top? Zach?
If we're talking guys 1,200 and above, I like Justin Thomas a lot. Win in 2017, win in 2020. Yeah, always seems to play good here. Can control his ball flight, can move the ball both ways. So I like that. And then just sounding like a parrot here, I like Zander. Win in 2019, tied for second in 2020, tied for 5th in 2021. I like him here.
Totally good, totally fair pick. Xander's got course history. He's played well here. He's won here. I'm okay with where he's at on the odds board this tournament. Johnny, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit today. It's tough not to go JT considering his course history here, and it seemed like he got his irons back in the fall.
Yeah, and normally we wouldn't bet a guy under plus 1,000 for any event, but I think with such a small field, I don't have a problem with it for this week here. He seems to be the best fit at the top of the board there. For like how you said it, the course history. I think there's a renewed energy to his season because he fell short of a lot of goals last year, and his iron play is a lot better. And these are the types of greens, though, I think he can end up putting well on, and then having that those good memories from winning a couple times there. I could see him doing really, really well. He played in the father-son, so he just played a few weeks ago in competition, so there is a little bit of that. Rahm is still probably the best player here, but I don't know if he's ever played in this event. And if he has. I'm sorry. Yeah, he played a couple of years ago. He did. Actually played pretty well. But with him not playing since, basically just after the Ryder Cup there, you don't know what you're going to get out of him there. So JT, yes. And then also I don't mind Vic Hovland this week. He's going to make 1 billion birdies, and 25 or 26 under is going to win is what they're calling for, something in the low to mid 20s under par. And you know how much we love how that dude can make birdies at will. It's just whether he can keep it in the fairways there, and if he gets that putter going and gets those irons going, he could definitely be there Sunday afternoon with a good chance to win.
It's funny, we didn't talk much about Hovland in our little preview portion.
We actually didn't.
He's arguably one of the hottest players in the world, and pretty highly touted for a huge 2022, considering where he's at with his ball striking and so forth. But I love JT, and I feel like I could go back to all the podcasts we did last year, and I probably had 10 tournaments where JT was the guy, and I got one of those right. But this just feels like a natural pick this week with how well he's played this golf course, and he's played in the fall. He's, starting with the Ryder Cup and even through the Hero and the PNC when he was beating the shit out of little kids at the PNC. He's been keeping his game sharp, and I was looking at some metrics from the past winners the last 10 years of this tournament. Usually it favors the guys that play a lot in the fall. So I'm not saying Rahm's not going to win this tournament, but I'd rather have a guy coming in here a little bit sharper. I'm disqualifying a guy like Daniel Berger, who really hasn't played much at all. And in fact, I just saw on Twitter today, his golf clubs aren't even in Hawaii with him at this point. So he's still straight vibing on the beach, though, by the way. So guys like JT, Morikawa, Hovland, those are the guys that I'm gravitating to. Zach just had some equipment malfunction. So to me, I feel like this is a JT Morikawa decision at the top. They're essentially mostly the same player. Colin right now is a little more trustworthy on the greens. I trust JT a little bit more around the greens, but if you're chipping this week, you're not winning anyways. Around the green game is probably the least important facet of anyone's game this week, because if you're trying to get up and down, you're not winning this tournament anyways. But I like JT, I like Morikawa. Those would be the two guys I would look at for sure. And I would have a small pivot to Sam Burns, who's also playing a lot and playing well at plus 1,800. And also a top 10 player, just moved to top 10 in the world today. 22 and above, Cam Smith, Hideki, Jordan Spieth, Sungjae, Finau at 25, Pat Reed at 28, Answer, Brooks, Leishman at 30-1, Taylor Gooch, all in Jason Kokrak at 3,500 and Harris English at 3,500. And then there's a huge drop off after that in the odds board. We have past winners in this group. We have past major champions in this group. Zach, give me a name or two that you think is going to contend from that range.
Yeah, I like three people in this range. I like Spieth a lot, just from past experience. A win in 2016. 3 out of 4 times he's played, I believe he's been top 5. I like Sungjae M. I think last year was his first year. Tie for 5th, 4 rounds in the 60s, and he led the field in tee to green. And I like Reed, win in 2015, second place, and then a playoff loss. So, I mean, again, like I said, at plus 2,800, I think that he has value there. The thing with Rahm is that I think at plus 600, we talked about this last year. It's just not enough value for me. There's enough people that can beat him that it just doesn't put the value. So in this tournament, I'll probably play a few more of the guys in this range, like Spieth, M, and Reed, that, I think if you hit a winner, you do well. And then also on these guys with the top 5s, they have pretty good odds. So I like this range a lot, really. And not just these 3. I think that there's really good value in this entire range.
I love the Spieth play, Zach. The first thing I think of are where 2 places that Spieth has dominated in his career, that has land movement and uneven lies like this: Augusta and of course the John Deere Classic is a second one. But he just seems to thrive on these type of layouts where there's a little bit more creativity involved with the approach. And so I don't know what it is, but he's won here. The number is really, really, I think, pretty intriguing. Of course, the last time we won at the Hero, he was garbage. He was hitting off of wrong tees and everything else. But I think that's a hard number to overlook at 22. Johnny, thoughts on that range?
I mean, I have to agree with Spieth. I think for all those reasons that you both mentioned, but I do like the creativity that the golf course offers. I think that's perfect for Jordan. It's what the John Deere Classics have trained him to be good for, is to win here in Kapalua. So, I do like that. And then, you got hashtag perspective. Hopefully he's sleeping a little bit better with the kid, but perspective means everything, I guess. So, I think it probably on that reason as well, I do that. But no, seriously though, I do like him, and getting him at 22-1. I think that's a pretty good number to get him. I did want to mention Pat Reed because I think he sees the golf course really, really well, and him being such a good putter. As long as he can get his irons up there and get himself in birdie range, he seems to putt pretty well here. Going down the list a little bit, couple guys. I've always liked Mark Leishman here. Whether his form is good, I don't know, but the wins. This is a nothing, calm, docile day, from what he's used to in playing in Australia. So 30-1 is a pretty good number, and even getting him, any of these guys really plus money in the top 10. If he putts pretty decent there, but didn't he play here the QBE? Did they win that, or did they contend or something like that? But he played pretty good at that the QBE shootout at the end of November there, early December, whenever it was. So there's some form there. And another guy I like, and I don't know if I like his number, is Taylor Gooch. He was a guy who I like. I think I'm going to like this season. Seems to be a competitor, always popping up on the leaderboard here. There's going to be a player or two that kind of slipped into the tournament. You don't really know him as a household name. He just kind of plods along and shoots, 468s, and there he's at 20 under par in the top 5. So I don't know if I bet Taylor Gooch at 35-1 to win, but you can get him at plus 500, top 5, 2-1 odds at top 10.
Jeez, I did bet Taylor Gooch to win today. It's funny.
And I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's good value.
Yeah.
He's a good enough player. I think that's solid.
He would have been a candidate for breakout player. Honestly, I mean, he really could have.
For sure. And he was one of the better players in the fall. I think he had 5 or 6 finishes in the top 12 out of, I think, 7 or 8 starts, and of course his first win at the RSM. That's part of the reason I bet him today. I think it's a good number. I have, it does go against my narrative, of course, history, but I think the hot hand is interesting. The Reed's there at 2,800. It's always an interesting number. He's always around 30-1. It's a hard number to pass up because he does just show up, and he has these spike weeks. We talk about spike putting weeks for Colin Morikawa. We have spike weeks for Reed where he just comes out and wins like he did at Torrey last year. It's an interesting play. What about Brooks at 30? Johnny, you haven't won in the Masters, and you're not going to take him here at 30-1?
I don't mind the play. Has he played though this event that much? I'm not sure his golf course familiarity is much there. 30-1. I think if you ever get Brooks at 30-1 in any event, I mean, he's got good value. I don't know if I'm going to personally make him as a best bet or if I'll bet him, but I don't mind it though. I don't dislike it because, like I said, I think, we used to talk about all last spring and summer, is he going to win an event? And if it's not a major, he's got no chance. But I think after Waste Management, him kind of winning that event, and I think that, I don't know if it reprioritized how he prepared and how he approaches just regular season PGA Tour events. I think he's looking a little bit more at, I need to be better at these to be better at the majors now that he's getting a little bit older. And I think he's looking overall at his legacy. So yeah, 30-1, that's a pretty good play there. I think it's a sneaky good one. I do though think that that's probably fairly priced. If you look at a guy between like Spieth at 22-1 versus Brooks at 30-1, I think that's fair that he's got a worse chance but I mean, a guy that good, if he gets that putter going, like he had some good stretches in the fall, it could be one of those things where he could be around there on Sunday.
Yeah, our rule on Brooks for a while has been if it's a major, bet him. If it's a non-major, don't bet him. It's pretty simple. But he has expressed this last fall that he is motivated. He thinks 2022 is going to be a huge year for him. So I'm interested to see if that, he seems healthy. He seems healthier at least. We'll see if it actually shows out to be true that he gives a shit about regular tour events, maybe starting this week. Like I said, there's a huge jump from the plus 3,500, Kokrak, English, those guys, and then down to plus 6,000 is where the odds go next, Kevin Na. So there's a huge gap there. I won't go name by name the rest of the way. We have, obviously, these guys won events last year. There's some names in here that are young guys that are up-and-comers. We see some veterans in here. It's hard to think any of these guys are going to win this week from this bottom tier. I have one name that is probably I know he's going to be on Zach's list. It might be on Johnny's list. It's just a fun long shot to win, but it's got to be Max, right? At 8,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I have two names written down here. One of them for real, one of them to kind of jab at you, and the one that's the real one. I don't think I'd put money on him. The one that honestly that I really would potentially put money on is Horschel, and not to win, but the only value that I really see here is like Horschel at plus 275 for a top 10. But really, I did write Max's name down and then kind of wrote Horschel down so I had somebody else to talk to in this range. But no, I mean, I think this is kind of, as we talked, this is kind of a tournament for people that have been here multiple times, that have the experience. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in guys that are down low. I really like that middle range a lot.
Yes. Johnny?
I think the disrespect in Homa putting them at 80-1. I mean, maybe that is correct. But Max isn't just he's not just a personality or a Twitter presence. I mean, he's won some events and he's got a lot of game. And the one thing with Max is generally if he's contending, he's contending to win. And if he's not, he's not that type of just that top 10 guy. He's either top 5 or he's fighting for a top 40. So, if you get the good Max, I mean, that's tremendous value. And I'm going to have a hard time not figuring out a way to put him on my card this week. Might even throw a little bit on 80-1 to win there, because I think if you look at that list, I think he's probably the best player that I can see right now, or that I'd feel most comfortable with as far as winning in that 60 and longer. The other guy I'm actually looking at a top 10 on is Stuart Sink. That's funny, but I mean, he doesn't suck. I mean, that's you kind of want him to and think he does, but ever since he won at Hilton Head last year, he's been okay, but he played in that father-son. He's got his son on the bag, who's a legitimate, really good caddy, and I think he doesn't have to hire out to some random dude that maybe an existing one out there. So he's going to probably come out there, and the family's going to come out, and they're just going to have a good old week. And is he going to shoot 25 under to win? No, but could he slip in there at 18, 19 under and get into a top 10 position? I think that's a very real possibility there. So I feel, I mean, if I look at the list, if I look at like Phil Mickelson and Lucas Glover and Matt Jones, do I think that he's any worse than those guys right now? No, I don't. So, I think taking the bottom guy in the field there and figuring out a way to see if he can finish in the top 10 is something I'm going to probably bet this week.
I'm with you guys on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Like as a actual bottom person on any DraftKings list, he's going to be your best option of the entire year.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that down there, and although I don't necessarily think he's going to win, I don't think that's a terrible bet at all. It might be some of the best value that you have in this entire tournament, honestly, because he really could absolutely do that. He's been playing great golf.
He's been playing okay. I mean,
for a 48-year-old guy that really kind of was off the map for numerous years, and then kind of just, I mean, honestly, prior to the last year and a half, the only thing he was really known for was breaking everybody's heart when he beat Watson.
Yeah, I know. So I get the 2 wins. What did he do after Hilton Head though? I don't remember him.
Played well, for a guy that you didn't really hear. I think that it's always a little bit more noticeable when there's a guy that, is a household name, then that kind of like fades into obscurity and then comes back. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit more noticeable. So I might have a little bit of bias in my head about that, and maybe not going statistically speaking off the numbers, but I kind of take feelings into my bets too.
You got a thing for these aging middle to upper 40 American players like Matt Kuchar and Stuart Sink.
I just want to think that, they're all going to have this little one more time, and I would like to capitalize on that.
I'm with you guys on Max for sure. I think he's got the most win equity down here outside of Kevin Na, I guess. But I think he's got the caliber of game to compete here. I don't know if he will. 2 other names that I'm looking at. I don't know if I'll do anything with them. Seamus Power at plus 7,000, plus 275 for top 10. He's really good. And he was really good in 2021, really under the radar. Of course, he won, I think, at Barbasol, I believe.
Yeah, that was JT Poston against in the playoff.
That's right. Yeah. But Power is a really good strokes gain guy. Actually, top 20 strokes gain on tour last year, kind of under the radar. So I like him. And I have a soft spot for Cameron Davis because he won me a lot of money in Detroit last year. So, and I think he's got the potential package to make a leap. He's not going to win here, but I think at a plus 450 for a top 10 is good. I think even top 20, he's at plus 100. So that's where I'll be looking for those bottom guys as a top 20 number where you can get the plus money. So I like Cam Davis for that. Anything else for the tournament champions for you guys?
No, I did look at Stuart Sink's record here since the RBC Heritage, the win in back in April. To answer your question, did he finish one time in the top 20? The answer is no, he did not. So he only missed.
I knew it.
He only missed 2 cuts for the rest of the 2021 season, but he missed 3 of 4 cuts in the first part of the fall season, and the only cut he didn't, or the only one that he made, did not have a cut. So,
I mean, listen, it was a great story. He won twice. I just wanted to cool the Jets on. He's playing great golf. I just wanted
pretty much ruined my evening, but thank you. I got it.
I mean, there's a reason he's 200 to 1.
And I was really just trying to support Johnny here, and
I appreciate that. Other than just a bad host, but no. Anyways, back as far as last thoughts on the event, it's played during prime time, Thursday evening, starting I think 6 p.m. on Golf Channel. This is really a cool event. If you like to watch a little bit of golf, or if you like to watch golf, or not at all, or you like the views, I mean, it is stunning. It is just an unbelievable piece of property, and it's just the weather's going to be great. And if you hate that kind of stuff because it's January in the Midwest, then don't watch it. But it's a good field. After we've had several weeks of not having much for tournaments, and for golfers like us, this, when they kick off the PGA Tour season, I'm sure you feel like, okay, we've turned a corner past the holidays. We got the golf season starting up. We'll be in the West Coast swing. We'll get to Florida, and then we'll eventually get to where we can play golf here in the spring. So hopefully everybody will enjoy it, but it's fun. It's some good TV to watch.
It sounds like Mark Rolfing got to you at some point today.
I watched a little Mark Rolfing today, and just a little tear down my cheek there, and it was we had a moment.
Yeah, it's like a Mark Rolfing infomercial there. Zach, last thoughts there.
Yeah, I am excited for this upcoming year. And like Johnny said, this kind of is the time when, we start thinking about, man, maybe we only have 2 more months until we can regularly start golfing again. Hopefully, we get 1, 2, 3 days in January or February where maybe we can go out and play. I mean, we've gotten lucky the last year or two to get out once in one of those months. So, we'll see. Aside from that, looking forward to a fun year and doing some more of these podcasts and hopefully making some money.
Yes, sounds good. Thank you guys both for being on the mega show. That was probably a record length for a golf show. So, but a lot to pack in, obviously. So appreciate you guys being on and breaking it all down.
Thanks, Phil. Good to be on.
It was fun.
This will also be airing on our YouTube channel. This is a first foray into that. So sorry about how we all look. We'll work on that as the year goes along. But have some more video on our YouTube channel if you're more interested in that kind of thing. So either way, thanks for supporting the podcast and continue to listen. We got tons of shows coming up in January, playoff football, golf starting, NBA and midseason form. Got a lot going on. So appreciate everyone. And we'll catch you next time.